Economists expected that when interest rates rose like this, that demand for labor would slow a lot. And you're talking about CapEx orders today. We would have expected to see a much larger decline in business investment with such high rates.
Yeah.
So, the data that's coming in is pretty good, but it's spectacular compared with where people thought we'd be now a year ago, or over a year ago when rates started rising.
So when you talk to your companies here, what's the challenge they have to attracting, retaining talent here? Because I look at a JOLTS number that's still really high, and I'm like, I don't know, all the Sweeney offsprings, they're all employed here. What are your employers that you talk to telling
Paul,
you?
you're the only father east of the Mississippi River whose children are all employed.
Gainfully
I tell you,
employed.
it's a domain set of one. Continue.
Well, we have had 26 months now of unemployment at or below 4%. That's the longest period since the 60s.
Really? Okay.
So this is still an incredibly tight labor market. Employers thought things would get easier. They thought leverage would swing all the way back to employers. It hasn't really happened. They're still struggling out there, and they're still finding that retention is fairly low. People are job hopping and finding better things.
To me, and I could be wrong, there's so much hot air out there now about this new how you get a job. What do you see in the day-to-day grind at ZipRecruiter? Like, does a resume matter anymore? Do you have to master all this digital? You got someone here, I needed a change to be able to make more money and have a life outside my job. Who doesn't? ZipRecruiter helped me discover something better. I think our audience worldwide is fascinated by this new method.
Right.
How's the method work within our economy?
And so for years, job search was centered around search, right? People typing in a job title and finding the few jobs that were in their area. Now, with AI matching technology, people create a profile, they answer a couple questions and say what they want and what they're interested in, and then the technology instantly alerts them to jobs that match their skills and experience and shows them jobs they wouldn't even have considered. And that is where the sort of exciting new discovery is taking place.
Oh, I just wanted to be the bat boy for the Rochester Red Wings. That wasn't, if I'd had AI back then.
If you had AI back then. So what are the sectors, what are the sectors that are just really in dire need of just workers?
So there are many sectors where the workforce is aging, where people are retiring in huge numbers, and where the talent pipeline is shrinking. People are not enrolling in accounting anymore. They're not enrolling in the skilled trades in the kinds of numbers that we need.
I have a whole theory on this.
And so a lot of jobs are just seen as kind of old
Why
school.
Paul and I are asking, because we've survived this in school, what does the accounting industry do? It's a broad statement, not the big four, but what do they do?
Well, so companies like KPMG are saying, wow, we've got an image problem. Young, smart people want to go into tech. They want to go into AI and do all these fun jobs. They don't want to be accountants.
They have to pay them more.
So, one is increasing pay.
I think the pay is Paul.
That's a tough
to
job,
me,
too,
it's a tough
hours.
job.
But the bigger issue is the perception that it's really hard and stressful. So the number one reason people give us for having quit a job is stress. Okay. People are increasingly, young people especially, are prioritizing work-life balance. And so what KPMG and other companies that are struggling to recruit accountants are doing.
I'm prioritizing work-life balance. Are you kidding me? What's an accountant make nowadays?
Six figures typically.
Six figures, 120.
Right.
You pop them 180, nobody's worried about stress.
Work-life balance anymore.
Help me here, Paul. I'm going to get in trouble.
Well, what companies what industries that are very seasonal, like accounting, are doing now is increasing staffing, generally across the year, right? So that you don't have people who are mostly kind of idle for several months and then who have these massive rushes where they're working 24/7. The companies are absorbing that seasonal risk and kind of overstaffing during parts of the year and then giving people an easier time during tax season.
How does this back to home thing, how is it playing out here? We're 4 or 5 years into it here. How do you think how is it shaking out, and do we still have more room to go in terms of it shaking out?
Very, very resilient. Remote work has just about stabilized in job postings now at around 11%. There's still a huge mismatch, though, between demand for remote work and
Now, when you say remote, is that 100% remote or is that hybrid?
Remote and hybrid.
Okay, hybrid. Okay.
65% of job seekers say they would prefer to find a remote or hybrid job. So there's huge demand for remote work. 11% of the people who just quit jobs
Yeah.
are looking for remote work, and that's why they quit.
One final question is just so important. You got to come back. Where's she from? She's like West Coast, right?
Santa Monica.
She's like working like a 20-hour day, going down to Santa Monica.
Surfing,
And then
Yep.
surfing
Go to the
and,
beach.
and all that. The absolute thing I hear from everybody older is that young kids won't work. Is that true? What do you see at ZipRecruiter?
Well, prime age labor force participation is the highest it's been since
Exactly.
2001, right? So it's not exactly true, but yes, there is a bit more priority placed on work-life balance, and companies are having to sort of improve and
I think
modernize
part of that's
the
a
jobs they
pandemic.
offer.
I think part of that's a pandemic. A lot of people just said, "Man,
Life is short."
life is short. I need to
I agree.
prioritize some
I
stuff."
strongly agree with
I
that.
think that is,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think that's here for a
Yeah.
while.
Don't be a stranger.
Yeah, thank you.
And we would love to come out to LA to have you and
Yes,
Lucas Shaw on the
exactly.
show.
Please do. I will take you
We've
surfing.